Right, Ben, we're going to have a little fun now. We're moving on to the transfer window. Obviously, we can see that summer. It's getting closer. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be Ange Postecoglou.
Mate.
You're going to be Johan Lange. All right? Or actually, fuck it. You could be Don Paratici. It's always better being the Don Paratici. Yeah. Okay, so Paratici, you're on bail, and we bailed you out for this meeting. We're going to go through. So first of all, we're going to go through a keep, a sell, okay, through the whole first 11, and then we're going to move on to who we're going to sign, what players we're going to target, and our ideal Tottenham transfer window, Tottenham summer. So starting with the keep and sell, Postecoglou.
Get rid of him, mate. Too naive, See you later, Angie, gone, mate.
Not good enough. Vicario.
Keep, obviously.
Keep. I mean, he's going to be there for 5 years. But we're moving on to a bit of a problem. We don't really have that second goalkeeper. You know how, like, Arsenal have had Ramsdale and Raya? That's not going to be there next season. No way is Ramsdale going to stay there. Obviously, Chelsea have rotated keepers. They're irrelevant, no. City, Ortega is exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. And you're looking at teams now that are having 2 keepers. We have Fraser Forster. One, do you think we should sell Fraser Forster and keep him? And is there like a young player to come in? Maybe. Actually, we could get into that. But Fraser Forster, are you keeping or selling?
I think just because he's homegrown, I think maybe you keep. He's good around to have Jesus Christ, he's good to have around the place. You've got Brandon Austin and Alfie Whiteman. Does having Forster there sort of stunt their development a little bit? Maybe they're talking about new contracts for Austin, maybe for Whiteman as well.
Yeah.
So I'd maybe potentially lean towards selling to give them a bit of a platform, but I wouldn't be unhappy if he did stay. He did sign a new contract, didn't he, Forster?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and in an ideal world, like we bring in a young homegrown goalkeeper to be that. I mean, be our Kelleher to Vicario's Alisson. So, yeah, I mean, I would keep him, but in an ideal world, maybe keep Forster around anyways, have another homegrown player, and then have like a goalie that come in. But we're obviously going to get into the transfer window later, like who we bring in, the incomings. But so Forster, are you selling?
I would sell, yeah.
Sell, okay. Brandon Austin and Whiteman will do together. What you think with them?
I think I'd keep one around and maybe loan the other one. I think I'd probably keep maybe Brandon Austin at the club. And maybe loan out for Whiteman.
He's 25.
Yeah, no, he's not.
And so is Whiteman.
They're not kids anymore. They've been around for Spurs for like a long time. I think I'd keep Brandon Austin at the club and maybe give Alfie Whiteman another loan, or the other way around. I'm kind of fine with both, really. But I feel like Austin is maybe that little bit more ready. He's kind of been on the bench, but I'd kind of do what you want with either of those two. But I think one of them should maybe stay and one of them should go on loan.
Being a backup or like a third goalie must be the best job in the world. You go to training every day. I mean, Whiteman looks like he's having a great time. Yeah. Like he's cultured,
pure vibes.
Cultured, DJ, unbelievable guy was Alfie Whiteman. Moving on to the defence then, Radu Dragusin. Obviously keeping him. I like the look of Dragusin, by the way. We haven't seen much of him. I do like him. I can see him again. Another player that Europa League's probably a perfect step for Dragusin's development.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he'll be playing a lot. Probably most games in the Europa League, I can imagine. And that level, I mean, people forget he's 21 years old. That's perfect for his development. And it's also not really in the spotlight. So, the thing is, we've seen with Van der Ven, Romero, the system we play, it makes you vulnerable as a defender. So you've got to be unbelievable and a specialist in... So Romero's a specialist in being the aggressor. Van der Ven's the specialist in recovery pace. Dragusin is another one of those. I'd put him more in the Romero. He can do recovery tackles, but put him more in the aggressor type. Seeing him in that right-hand side, away from the pressure of the spotlight, could benefit him massively. Emerson Royale.
I think it's time to sell. I think it's time to sell. I think that I love Emerson.
Sad.
He's been amazing for Spurs. Vibes FC when Emerson's in the team. But I just think he's a very good defender, very capable. But I think in terms of like wanting to progress with the system that we're playing, I think you need to look at someone who's maybe more specialist to do that. Or, there's not necessarily players that are specialist inverted fullbacks. Porro and Adoggy weren't that, but look how well they've done. But players who might have the technical quality to be able to fulfil that and the defensive awareness as well. So I think I'll probably move Emerson on.
Yeah. He's another player. He's perfect for the dressing room. It's just, and I think he's torn in the articles that emerged in January. He loves living in London. He's really, really settled. He's just had a baby.
Yeah.
But he does want to play. And do you remember in the summer, was it his agent coming out and saying he wants to play for like Real Madrid or something like that? Do you remember that? It's like, all right, Emerson. Who's going to tell him?
Not that guy,
but you're not that guy, pal. But I love Emerson. He's the GOAT. He's the king. But it's if we can get 25 mil, if who was it? There was a team in Saudi that bid 25 mil in January. It was probably the right move keeping him in January for that cover. But if we get that in the summer, I'd snap your hand off. I would. 25 mil. That's a big profit. Christian Romero, Pedro Porro, keeping
without doubt. Yeah,
we're keeping without doubt. Ben Davies.
Keep. I think you've got to keep Ben Davies around. I think obviously we're going to. I think we'll see why. I do think we'll see why in the next few weeks. I think Ben Davies will be that guy. I'm gutted about a doggy, like we said earlier, and I don't want to go over stuff we've already talked about, but I'm kind of calm with Ben Davies. He just brings that sort of just presence and that leadership, that maturity. Experience. Love him. I think he's such a brilliant character to have around the place. And you shouldn't just give handouts for that but it's also based on what he does when he steps on the pitch for Tottenham as well. So, yeah, Daddy Davis is here to stay.
Is he homegrown in the Champions League?
No, he's not. No, because he was club trained at Swansea. Yeah,
of course. Well, I mean, I'd keep him as well. I would, and he's got 1 year left in his contract. He's one of those players that you kind of need those players in and around the dressing room. I'm thinking for the experience, for the versatility. Obviously, he did so well coming in covering Van der Ven. If we need that again next season, by like if we get another centre back, he gets injured, Dragusin gets injured, or Romero. Davis is another player that you can rely on him. You can. He's proven time and time again that he is a valuable player in this team, absolutely. A valuable asset. And all the successful Daddy Davis for a reason.
Yes, very successful.
For the successful teams that have like won the Champions League, won the Premier League, I'm thinking James Milner.
Yeah.
A very reliable, experienced player, great to the dressing room, an unbelievable trainer that sets the standard. That could be our Ben Davies. And I'd love to keep him around until he gets his coaching patches.
Yeah.
Mickey Van der Ven, Destiny a doggy.
Yeah, keep.
Yeah, keeping. Alfie Devine. It's a fucking Alfie Devine. Alfie Dorrington. Yeah. What are you doing with him? And Ashley Phillips?
So they kind of, you sort of almost have to talk about them together, because obviously Phillips has gone out on loan at Plymouth and really, really impressed, helping them kind of trying to maintain that relegation fight, but they lost yesterday to Stoke, so they might get relegated. But it feels like Phillips will definitely get another loan next season if Spurs feel like that was the right thing to do. Apparently Sheffield United have been linked with him quite heavily. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Obviously Dorrington hasn't gone out on loan yet for Spurs. He's injured at the moment, Dorrington. Obviously, he didn't play yesterday for the 21s. I think he's
had a few injuries.
He's had a few, yeah. He came back. He got injured on international duty, I think. And you're talking about players here that have captained. I'm pretty sure Donnelly, or sort of moving on to Donnelly, but just the Spurs kind of youth teams in general have captained England. Ashley Phillips is captain England this season. Donnelly, I'm pretty sure, is captain England. I think Dorrington has played a lot of football for England as well. And the fact that they're both playing together, Phillips and Dorrington, at the same age group for England is really, really encouraging for Spurs going forward. In terms of sort of building those partnerships are so crucial on the pitch. So I think a little bit like the goalkeeper situation. I think one should maybe stay and one should go on loan. But I feel like there's been a lot of chat about Phillips going out on loan again next year. And if it's to a bottom half Premier League team maybe, or a top half Championship team, competing at that level again, playing that football is so important. And then you go to next season, especially obviously Spurs have been linked with signing another centre back, which we'll come on to in the next part of the pod. But it feels as if they're gearing up for another loan. So I wouldn't mind seeing both of them go out on loan. But I think again you've got to manage that club-trained, homegrown situation quite carefully.
That's the thing. I think
maybe I'd keep Dorrington around and give Phillips another loan next year, maybe, I think. What would you do?
Yeah. The same. I'd do the same. I think it's a good Europa League. It's a great competition, and I think Dorrington, you're not saying he's going to start Europa Leagues. We're not being like, it was like, I think if it was Conference League, then you're looking for their games that he could actually start. But Europa League is still a very, very high elite competition. So I think he'd be a great squad player for the Europa League to come on, get minutes, feel that sort of that pressure of you're playing for Tottenham now. This is what playing for Tottenham's like. And then maybe next year send him out on loan. But Europa League is a good time to sort of integrate him into like that first team feel, that first team football. And actually, Phillips, just send him on loan again. He needs to. He's got so much potential, but he needs to improve on the
Yeah,
ball.
a little bit, yeah.
So maybe signing him for a team that has the ball a lot. I know maybe teams might not take that risk on him. But just know what it's like to play with like a lot of pressure at you and coming at you, a lot of pressure. Playing maybe Premier League football would be ideal, obviously, because you want him to be like ready-made.
Or that's
and
a top half championship team as well, like that sort of ball playing team, like
yeah. But it'll be perfect for him. So hopefully one of them gets that loan at least. Oliver Skip,
Skipito.
Skippy.
I think I feel for Ollie Skip because he's not getting on the bench at the moment, and it feels it's because this is kind of the strongest bench that Spurs have had, and we're kind of overloaded in those midfield positions when the likes of Basuma or Bentancur don't play, and if they're on the bench, or it's Højbjerg and Lo Celso on the bench, or Sars on the bench, it's hard to find the room. You've got 5 players there, or 6 players, including Skip, of Bentancur, Basuma, Højbjerg, Lo Celso, and Skip, and Sar competing for those 2 midfield spots because Maddison is that. Obviously that number 10 is kind of a different structure in that midfield. So you've got 5 or 6 players competing for 2 spots in the team. And that means when it comes to your bench, mental. That means you can only really afford to have 3 probably midfielders on there. And obviously Lo Celso gives you the flexibility to play him a little bit further up the pitch instead of Maddison if you need. So I think that's why Skip's suffering at the moment. And again, he might want to move on for his own career. But I think again, with the club trained homegrown situation, I think I would keep Skip around. I think he's shown that he can do a job. Obviously, Sar's not going to count as homegrown, so that's a spot that gets used up annoyingly. So I would probably, I'd keep Oliver Skip. I think I would. There's no point sending him out on loan. It's a keep or sell for me for Skip, and I think the positives to keep him probably outweigh the negatives. Although he might see that as a bit of a frustration, and I understand that. I think it might just be one of those brutal things for him in the sense that we just need you around the place a little bit. And obviously Spurs, there's going to be a couple of midfielders that go out the door anyway. Maybe that presents more opportunities for him, especially if we're in the Europa League. He's shown that he can be trusted at this level. So yeah, I'll keep Oliver Skip around.
I feel so bad for Oliver Skip, I really do, because remember when he was coming through under Nuno and Conte started at the beginning of Conte's reign, he was starting a lot. He got that injury and he hasn't really looked the same since. And I mean, we all thought we had an absolute player, and I'm thinking about that Chelsea screamer as well. He has had some really good like moments over the last couple of years, but it's just the competition, and I feel so bad for him because I can't see us selling him. I can't see people bidding 20-25 mil for him, which is what I'd want from if we're going to sell Skip, because he will go on to do good things if he's playing regularly. Like I can see him playing for a mid-table Premier League side, and he showed his levels when he went on loan to Norwich. But I just think we're probably going to keep him because we're not going to accept loans for him, and he'll probably want to play. I mean, he's in January or in the summer. I think it was January. He was saying he's willing to go on loan again because he wants to play football, and I feel bad for him because that homegrown, that club trained quota is such a recurring issue, isn't it? And it's a theme. I can just see him just being almost wasted away, but he could be like a key player in the Europa League. I'm thinking Harry Winks scoring that screamer that he didn't mean. That could be Oliver Skip next year, and he'll learn from Winks' mistakes and say he meant to do it. But yeah, I just think Oliver Skip, like you're thinking, and it's like that Office meme, and it's like when he goes David Brent goes blind dating, and it's like the same sort of thing with Ange Postecoglou looking at his midfield options. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, Bentancur, come on, like, welcome to training, son. Welcome to training. Bergvall, how you doing? You come in here. Basuma, Kulusevski, Pat Mavitsar, and then Oliver Skip just arrives like that, and he's just like, "Oh fucking hell, like, what's he still doing here? Like, come on, Oliver Skip, how you doing, mate? Yeah, go on training." It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, there's so much competition for him. I just feel bad for him. But moving on then. So you're keeping Skip. Højbjerg.
I think it's time to sell. I think he's shown the value that he can bring, and I think he's been such a. I was going to say he's not been a crucial player for Spurs this season, but he has been, someone that we can definitely rely on, and a really mature member of the squad that has kind of made himself accountable when not made himself accountable, but like made himself useful when required. But I think in terms of bringing in the money, and obviously he feels like he wants a change in his career. He's just hired a new agent. It feels inevitable. I think I'd cash in.
Yeah. I think he is replaceable as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, even if we don't go out and spend like 60, 70 mil.
He's been good, but there's an upgrade there.
Yeah, you can buy a steady Eddie cover or go out all out. We'll go into the next part, but we'll go like you could go all out on an upgrade on Basuma, or you could just replace Højbjerg. Basuma, then what are you thinking?
I think he's got to stay. He's keep him. I think it's been irrational. I think that people were saying that we should get rid of him.
Yeah, 100%.
That's not to say that he isn't upgradable, and again, sort of like what you just said about Højbjerg, but I think he's got to stay. I think he's
yeah. Madison. Fucking get him out. He ain't been good enough recently. Get him gone. Yeah, swap deal with Eze.
Oh, mate, yeah. Yeah. No,
you got to keep Madison. Lo Celso.
This is probably one of the most interesting ones because I think a lot of people would want to keep him. I think it's kind of a similar thing with Højbjerg where it feels a little bit maybe unsettled once that change. He's not getting the football. I saw Real Betis apparently want to come back in for him and take him back there. One of their key targets. I think it's probably the right thing to do to sell, but I think there's still very much value in the sell. So in terms of what he can bring to Spurs, but I just don't think we're going to see it. He's too injury prone. When he had that chance to really make an impact, he did, but then he was out again, and it's been a frustrating kind of season with Lo Celso. So I think it's probably the right time to cash in.
Yeah, I think so. 1 year left in his contract, and you want to get that. How has he got to 100 Spurs appearances? Like I can't even remember those 90
minutes. It's just crazy.
That's mad. Yeah, and I just think he's done himself good. He can do himself proud in the Spurs shirt because he's been excellent when he has cameoed this season. But if you're not fit, you're not it. And to get. You want to get a bit of money from the money you spent on him. How much did it cost to get him? Was it like around like 40 mil, 40, 50?
Yeah, it was quite a lot of money.
So it was quite expensive. So I just think drain that little bit of value you have out of him in the summer. He is a sellable asset, and then maybe Bergvall can do a job as that rotation option, or Kulusevski. Ryan Sessegnon then. I think we have an option on him to let him go on a free. I think for the best of his career, you just let him go off, maybe restart, work his way back up, because I feel so bad for Sessegnon.
Me too. I completely agree with you. I think it's just for his own career as much as anything. He's just not gonna get that chance at Spurs, and his body's let him down enormously, and it's so frustrating and so upsetting for him. But I think it's just time to give him a chance to move on. And
I think so. Yeah, and good luck to him, because I feel so bad for him. Like the amount of injuries he's got, the excitement when we signed him, thought we'd signed our Danny Rose replacement, and it just hasn't worked that way. And he has had a lot of chances. It's just he just plays like a player that doesn't trust his body, which is rightly so when you've had so many setbacks. And he has had some great games as well. In a Spurs shirt, and I think he just needs to get some game time, work your way back up, because he's got so much potential. He's still only 23 as well, which is ridiculous because he seems like he's been around for ages. Kulusevski,
keep 100%.
Keeping him. I think there has been rumours. Not rumours, but there's been a lot of conversation about
Napoli, isn't there? About like apparently if Conte was to take over at Napoli, I saw that. But I think Kulusevski is going to show us in these last few games of the season that it's just a little bit of a dip in form. And I think anyone that would want to sell him off the back of a few poor games just kind of sums up the entitled kind of current fan culture, not just around Spurs, but around a lot of clubs, that players aren't allowed to have bad moments. And I think Kulusevski has been one of the biggest victims of that. So I think 100% keep. I think it's going to be so key to Spurs moving forward.
Yeah, I think so. He's such a key player to have for his versatility in Europe.
Yeah, and so much of it, so much of it is in terms of profile as well. And it's just someone, a sort of a profile that's quite unique in football and something that we don't have outside of him. So for me,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's there's been a lot of talk of he's not the ideal Ange winger, but he doesn't have to be. He can be a player that comes in and changes a dynamic, and if related to the opposition's tactical setup, if they know they're gonna play against like electric wingers, they'll set up to sort of nullify that, and then you bring on Kulusevski and just throw a spanner in the works for the opposition. I can see him being a key player. Saar, Bentancur, keeping. Iago Santiago. Are we loaning him?
I was really impressed with Santiago yesterday. Every time, again, like I was saying it earlier, when that Man United coach was sort of chatting to me, he was just like, or you could sort of hear him. And every time Santiago got the ball, it was just like, he's electric, this kid. There's kind of the fear whenever he gets the ball and the opposition sides that he's played against the 21s this year. Such an exciting talent. I think maybe a loan. I think your loan will probably benefit Santiago. Again,
talking about,
I think it's one of those things where like people keep dragging Santiago's name into it because we are looking for that one-on-one dribbling dynamic winger, and he's certainly that. Loves to take his man on, will slow him down and go past him. Likes to come inside, can finish, can score. Like he is a really exciting prospect. But again, I think he needs to go and get kicked as a winger. Go and learn that way in maybe League One or League Two. He's still so young, so much to learn. So yeah, I'd probably go with a loan for Santiago.
Yeah, Son, not good enough. He can't hold the ball up. He can't play number 9. Get rid of him. Get him gone.
Yeah, time to go.
It's time to go. Keeping him, obviously. I'm going to save the Richarlison for last. Brian Hill and Manuel Solomon, doing them together. What are you thinking?
I think it's time to move them both on. Yeah, I think it's time to move. And I say it's time with Solomon. It feels hard because he's only been here a year and he's had a massive injury hit season. He's only played up until September, and that was it. And he'd gone, and he's had setback after setback. So it's unfortunate for him, but I personally don't see it. And Hill, I think we've seen there's evidence there over a few years to say that I just don't think he's going to be good enough to play in this system. So yeah, I think both of them should move on.
Yeah. Unless Brian Hill starts taking steroids and hits puberty at the same time.
Yeah. The thing is for me is,
and then we've got the best player in the world.
Yeah, the thing is for me, like a lot of it when I say about Brian Hill isn't even to do with the physicality. I don't. That's not an issue for me. It's just about like the bravery in certain situations, which I kind of struggle with in terms of what he does, and decision making at that kind of elite level just isn't there. Maybe plays too safe, not brave. Like, and again, that maybe isn't helping with physicality. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's time to move on.
Yeah. The thing is like you don't have to be a physical player like Bernardo Silva, etc., David Silva, but they still had that burst of that pace, not acceleration, but that burst of pace at the beginning, and then they're not the quickest, but they still had that pace to get out and away from defenders. Brian Hill just seems like he's got the ball stuck under his foot all the time, and he's quite slow and predictable. I think, but go and smash up the La Liga, mate, because he's so good every time he goes there on loan. And Manuel Solomon, I've said this before. How the fuck have we managed to make a free signing look like a waste of money, or like look like? Do you know what I mean? Like he again, we're probably gonna have to loan him because he hasn't played this season. Yeah. People aren't going to be spending money on him unless you use him like a swap deal, FIFA career mode-esque. Like, I think a loan, you're going to have to loan him. I don't know what injury, I don't know what injury problems he's had. He's had a few, and it seems like it's a recurring thing, and they just can't really solve it. It's shambolic. How have we made a free transfer look that bad? So I think time to move him on because he's not an actual asset to the club at the moment. So. He isn't. And he's only been there a year.
The conversations around Solomon when people say, "Hey, when he comes back, he'll be starting for Spurs over Werner and Johnson," and it's like, no,
you forget he plays for us.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't. He just wouldn't.
Yeah. Brennan Johnson, Timo Werner.
Yeah, obviously Johnson keep. Yeah, definitely. Werner, I think I would still keep around. Obviously, people I think are being quite reactionary off the back of the Newcastle game. Misses a couple of chances that you'd expect him to do better, but still don't necessarily expect him to score. You're getting annoyed about stuff that you already know is there with Werner. Yes, you want that more clinical cutthroat option out there, but it's kind of the deal you kind of make. You know that he's not going to bring you that, but he brings you so much in other areas. Is he a starter for next season? No. Is he a very, very valuable squad option if he is there? 100%, especially in Europe. So I would keep Werner.
Yeah, 5 goal contributions in the Premier League so far, and also that's taken away. Like he's had a couple of moments where it's gone off a defender for an own goal and he doesn't get the assist,
which is mad to me, by the way.
The doggy where it got. The doggy like ricochet pass or the pass that got like it was sort of intercepted, but it wasn't. He should have the assist for that. So I think he's a reliable player. You know what you're going to get from Timo Werner, but you also know his weaknesses as well. So it's sort of things that it's the sort of thing you can accept, and he can be there for that depth because and Ange seems to love him. He starts every game. That just speaks volumes. That he's one of the first names on Ange's team sheets, and he's a lone player. So I think that sort of gives you an insight onto what. Well, our man's Postecoglou right now in this scenario, so I'm keeping him.
I agree with you, mate.
And then Scarlett and Donnelly. Are we loaning? Who are we loaning out of them to?
It's hard. I think, again, it's a bit like centre-back situations, maybe loan one, keep one. He very much fancies Scarlett, and obviously Veliz is a player that we should talk about as well, and it feels like Veliz is going to go out on loan again, so I'd probably probably second that and go with loan to keep him.
Get him in the Prem.
Yeah, exactly. He's had a hard time at Sevilla, but the fact that a club like Sevilla came and picked him up shows that there is real potential there. He's just unfortunately had a bit of a difficult loan, and it's so hard to predict these loans, whether it's actually going to go well or not. You just never really know. But I think with Scarlett and Donnelly, I'd love to see Donnelly playing football for Spurs next season, but I would also quite happily see him go out on loan and play that football. Obviously, Alfie Devine is a player that I think, again, could benefit from maybe another loan. I think we should be so excited about him. But and obviously, like I said, he seemed to fancy Scarlett. So I think he'll keep one and loan one again. And obviously, you've got to remember as well, like you can register the European squad twice. So you can have like some of these younger players in there. Obviously, don't count as it wouldn't count as players because they're club trained and homegrown and under the age and all those kind of things. But you could put them in the squad, and then you could like put them on a 6-month loan at the start of the season, and then they could come back in January, and then you could re-register them to get some competition at the back end of the season in the Europa League. So I would. I think I would give. I'd like to see them both stay, really, but maybe Scarlett another loan, maybe probably not in the Premier League, but maybe at the top end of the Championship again, and just hope it works out. He's unlucky with Ipswich. He went there and they just caught fire without him in the team straight away. So it's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So that was keep and sell.
Yeah.
Well in Don Parategy.